great nations, Noxus, Demacia, and Ionia, each with their own ideals, ambitions, and dark secrets. Their stories are intertwined with wars, conspiracies, and the struggle for survival. What happens when power clashes with honor and harmony is under attack? Let's find out. Noxus. Noxians honor strength above everything else, consider it the cornerstone of greatness. For them, the only way to maintain power is through constant trials in which everyone must strengthen their resilience. However, Noxus values not only physical and martial strength. Those who achieve excellence in politics, craftsmanship, trade, or magic also contribute to bolstering this great power, making it even more formidable. It is thanks to this that Noxus has asserted its dominance over the centuries, absorbing smaller nations and spreading its influence to military campaigns across various parts of Runeterra. The enormous authority Noxus exerts on the world led to the introduction of the Noxian calendar. All historical events are now dated according to it. BN stands for Before Noxus, and AN for After Noxus. The path of the great power we see today began about 1500 years ago, in the, so to say, Age of Tyranny, when these lands were ruled by the Iron Revenant named Mordekaiser. In life, he was a cruel tyrant, and after his resurrection, taking the form of iron armor, he continued to wreak havoc, tyranny, and destruction. Mordekaiser and his army swept across the lands, destroying and enslaving all who dared depose him. Entire generations fell in his brutal campaigns. His enemies believed he wanted only to kill and destroy, but in fact, he desired more. At the very center of his empire, he erected the immortal bastion. Many thought it was merely a symbol of power, but it was much more complex. This place was the source of his might, a repository of ancient knowledge and secret lore he had gathered over centuries while seeking forbidden truth about spirits, death, and the beyond. To achieve his goals, he created a circle of mages who became his closest allies, the only ones that could unlock the mysteries he had collected. Naturally, such a despot soon acquired a lot of enemies. Ironically, his downfall was caused by the unification of the Noxi barbarian tribes and the betrayal of his closest associates. One such traitor was LeBlanc, who separated the Iron Revenant's soul from his armor and locked the empty metal shell away in a secret place. However, LeBlanc did not act alone. Earlier, she had allied with Vladimir, a powerful wielder of ancient forbidden spells. Together, these two formed the mysterious organization known as the Black Rose. If you're interested in the full story of this organization, there is a video already on my channel. I'll leave the link in the description. One way or another, Mordekaiser was banished from the material world, and in the shadow of the immortal bastion, the barbarians founded their empire. Over the years, it grew even more powerful, expanding territories and increasing its military influence. Noxus reached the peak of its might under Sion, a brutal warlord who became a symbol of military prowess. In life, he was the last of a proud warrior culture that laid the foundation for early Noxus. His exploits on the battlefield earned him the title, the Hand of Noxus, and he became renowned as a tireless general in the Empire's expansion. However, his journey ended tragically. Sion met his end in battle against King Jarvan I of Demacia, and both warriors perished by each other's hand. Currently, Noxus is led by Boram Darkwill. During his reign, and even before he came to power, the Empire began to lose its dominance following the death of the brutal warlord Sion. Darkwill was willing to pay any price to restore Noxus's former glory. To achieve this, the Black Rose reanimated the long-dead hero with forbidden magic and presented him to the Grand General. He could not refuse this gift, and so Sion returned to life, driven by an unnatural thirst for blood and immune to pain. However, his victories came at too great a cost. Sion became uncontrollable, slaughtering enemies and allies alike without remorse. Soon, Darkwill ordered Sion to be reburied. Nevertheless, Noxus continued its conquests. In one of the first invasions of Ionia, the army's leader, Jericho Swain, lost his arm. But as it turned out, this event was no mere accident. After Swain's release following the Battle of the Placidium, he discovered that the Black Rose still operated behind the scenes, manipulating Darkwill's actions like a puppet and engineering his downfall in Ionia. After years of preparation and with the support of allies like Draven, Swain managed to kill the Noxian Emperor in a single night, harnessing the power of an ancient demon imprisoned in the immortal bastion. Upon reaching the capital, the current head of Noxus, Darius, faced a difficult choice. As the Hand, he knew the noble houses expected him to avenge Darkwill. But in his heart, he respected Swain, who ordered a new vision for the Empire. Darius understood that the Hand's oaths were sworn to Noxus, not to any particular ruler. and Swain openly declared his intentions and stood ready to lead the Empire into a new era. Nevertheless, Swain had his own plans. With the formation of the Trifarix, 3 individuals would rule Noxus, each embodying one principle of power. Swain represented vision, Darius represented might, and the third principle was guile, personified by a figure known as the Faceless, whose true identity remained hidden. Darius eagerly accepted his place on the new council and vowed to assemble the Trifarian Legion, an elite force composed of the Empire's most loyal and distinguished warriors. With this army, he intended to usher Noxus into a new era of conquest and glory. Demacia. Demacia is a proud kingdom with a prestigious military history. Its people have always placed the ideals of justice, honor, and duty above all else, and these principles have formed the foundation of their lives. Here, no crime goes unpunished. Any wrongdoing faces severe consequences. Yet, despite its commitment to high ideals, Demacia has become more insular and isolated over the centuries, seeking to protect its independence and self-sufficiency. Demacia's history and culture trace back to the cataclysmic events of the Rune Wars. Refugees fleeing destruction and chaos headed west of Valorant continent in search of safety. It is said that when a cult of dark mages pursued these survivors, they found refuge in an ancient petrified forest where their persecutors' magic lost its power. Using the unique properties of these strange woods, the refugees established their permanent home there, laying the foundation for a future great kingdom. Over time, rumors of this wondrous new haven reached other refugees, and many journeyed there to escape destructive magic. Together, the settlers quickly formed a thriving community that became the basis of a new nation called Demacia. However, the people of Demacia still faced a crucial question: how to ensure reliable protection against enemies both within and beyond the kingdom's borders. A cunning foe could lure the Demacian army out of their fortifications, leaving them vulnerable to magic attacks. To find a solution, Demacia's leaders turned to Durand, the greatest artisan of that era, asking him to create a mobile weapon that would offer protection in foreign wars. This led to the creation of Galio, a colossal statue that, despite its enormous weight, proved extremely effective on the battlefield. Though transporting it to and from Demacia posed significant challenges, its power and protective abilities justified the hardships at the front. Since then, Galio has become an indispensable ally of Demacia, deployed whenever defending the homeland became necessary. Over the years, as the country stabilized, its people grew up with folk tales of dark wizards and destructive magic that nearly annihilated the world. These stories left a deep mark, and Demacians grew wary of magic in all forms. Fear of destructive sorcery turned into distrust of outsiders, and thus an isolated nation emerged, rejecting outside influence. Demacia adopted strict laws of stone, prohibiting the use of magical powers by any citizen or foreigner within its walls. The first king of Demacia was Jarvan I. It became a tradition in his lineage that the heir was always named Jarvan. During the reigns of Jarvan I and Jarvan II, the country tightened its laws regarding magic. Every year, more mages hid within Demacia, and magical power became something to be suppressed. Magical individuals were increasingly marginalized, and those found to bear the quote-unquote affliction of magic were either exiled or turned over to the Mage Seekers and the Illuminators, secret orders tasked with protecting Demacia from magic. Rebellious mages who disobeyed the laws were sent to petricide-guarded prisons, where the special material absorbed their abilities. One such unfortunate mage was Silas, who grew up in one of Demacia's poorest districts. Silas of Dregborn became a symbol of the darkest side of the great city. His ability to detect hidden sorcery as a boy attracted the Mage Seeker's attention, and he was soon caught and imprisoned for using his powers against them. Over time, as the Order continued arresting mages, Silas began to question Demacia's ideals. He noticed that certain mages among its citizens remained protected by high status despite their powers. This double standard troubled him deeply. When captured, Silas was too young, and he received a life sentence. He ended up in the darkest dungeons of the Mage Seeker compound, forced to wear heavy petricide shackles that suppressed magical power. 15 years later, a young volunteer from the Illuminators named Luxana strayed into his cell. Over time, they formed an unusual and secret bond. In exchange for Silas's knowledge of magic control, Lux brought him any books he desired, including the manuscript of Durand. Durand's work served as a cornerstone of Demacia's defense against destructive magic. However, Silas realized that petricide was not just a means of suppressing magic, but a tool for absorbing it. This discovery gave him hope. If magic was trapped in his chains, he could release it. All he needed was a source of magic, like Lux. But Luxana never returned. Her family, the influential crown gods, discovered their secret meetings and became furious about it. Without explanation, Silas's swift execution was arranged. On the scaffold, Lux begged for Silas's life, but her pleas went unheard. She embraced her friend one last time. That is what Silas had been waiting for. Just as he predicted and planned, her power rushed into the petrified shackles, eager for him to unleash it, and with that enthusiastic magic, Silas broke free. The renegade destroyed the Mage Seeker dungeon and prison, freeing imprisoned mages and gathering an outraged crowd to strike at the monarchy. However, when he and the captured Prince Jarvan IV reached the king, they found that the king had already been killed. Unbeknownst to everyone, Grand General Swain had sent Katarina to assassinate the king to weaken Demacia for future integration into the empire. Silas prepared to execute the prince, but Garen assembled a vanguard to fight the rebellion. Garen nearly prevented Silas from escaping the city and almost ended the mage's life. At the last second, Silas's former mentor, Mage Seeker Killen, secretly saved him. The criminal escaped to a tunnel, planning to grow his revolution, and eventually overthrew the government that oppressed mages throughout the country. After the uprising, the Mage Seekers intensified their crackdown on magical populations in the great city, arresting all mages and their allies. Lux refused to remain indifferent. When her brother Garen suggested framing others to hide her magic, she rebelled. Gathering a few mages, she led them through the sewers, but encountered Garen one last time. Respecting Lux's decision to leave, Garen allowed them to escape and said farewell to his sister. Following the riot in the capital, Silas, pursued by no one, joined the rebels who fought against the ruthless Mage Seekers. His path led him to the ruins of Terbicia, once a coastal settlement in southern Demacia, now heavily damaged by an earthquake in the past, and a sanctuary for peaceful mages led by Lux. The meeting with Silas brought no reconciliation. Lux could not forgive his past deception and betrayal. Accepting her decision, Silas returned to his associates. Meanwhile, Jarvan IV appointed a woman named Wisteria as the new leader of the Mage Seekers. Obsessed with breaking the rebel spirit, she planned a public execution to intimidate and scatter them. But Silas would not yield. He disrupted the execution, saving the mages. Garen, learning of Wisteria's new sinister plans, rushed to warn his sister Lux about the planned attack on her camp. Instead of fleeing, Lux made a bold decision. She asked Silas for help defending Terbicia. Joining forces, the peaceful mages and the rebels repelled the hunters. The battle ended in a resounding victory. Prince Jarvan IV, recognizing the futility of his actions, issued a decree abolishing the Mage Seeker Order. Terbicia officially became a refuge where mages could live without fear of persecution. Luxana Crown Guard was entrusted with governing the city. Demacia began to heal its wounds, but Silas and his rebels remained unyielding. In the future, Demacia would face another war against mages. These events formed the basis for the Warriors cinematic created for the new 2020 League of Legends season. But the continuation of this story has not yet been written. Ionia. Ionia, also known as the First Lands, is a heaven for those seeking spiritual evolution and enlightenment. Magic permeates every aspect of Ionia, its people, its history, and above all, its land. All aspects of life balance delicately here, and there is so much to discover and explore. Many spiritual centers and schools of enlightenment exist, though they may not always agree on key issues. Such pursuits leave little room to think about imperialism. Historically, Ionians have been peaceful by nature. However, this does not mean they are helpless or incapable of defense. Ionia undoubtedly has a much longer and richer history than any living soul could claim to know. In an era lost in myth, the harmony of the First Lands was shattered by a war between mortals and a race of titans who came from the heavens. Calling upon ancestral wisdom, the most enlightened mortals embraced spiritual power, becoming the Vastaya Shirei, immortal shapeshifters who could wield the natural world itself as a weapon. The titans were defeated, and the Vastaya Shirei were hailed as heroes. The first generations of these immortals held unlimited magical power, yet they chose to live among mortals rather than rise above them. Over time, their descendants intermingled with humans and became the Vastaya, varied species of mystical beings. Each evolved differently, influenced by their environment, reflecting the harmony of magic and nature. From its inception, Ionia always strove for inner enlightenment, preferring harmony and introspection over war and strife. To the militaristic Noxus, such peace seemed a vulnerability worth exploiting. Noxian spies disguised as merchants infiltrated Ionian provinces, studying their weaknesses and marking strategic targets. When the moment was right, the first wave of the Noxian invasion struck Ionia, centering on the province of Nevori. Villages and settlements were razed and thousands died. The magical artifacts vital to Ionian culture fell into Noxian hands, serving as keys to extending the life of the mad Noxian emperor, Boram Darkwill. Thus began one of the most tragic chapters in Ionian history, where peaceful wisdom clashed with inhuman cruelty. Noxian aggression tested even the most pacifistic Ionians. The religious leader Karma, whose teachings had always upheld harmony and rejected violence, was forced to fight back. Throughout Nevori, resistance centers emerged, united in the struggle to reclaim Ionian freedom. A key episode was the seizure of the Placidium. The army under Jericho Swain captured the fortress, holding its defenders hostage to lure reinforcements into a trap. Their plan was foiled by a 14-year-old girl named Irelia. Awakening the ancient power of Ionian dance, she embodied Ionia's spirit, striking down Swain's veterans. Dozens died in battle, and Swain himself lost an arm. Irelia's feat made her a symbol of resistance, leading it for almost 3 years. But Noxus did not relent, intensifying its cruelty. Their armies included children hoping to exploit Ionian mercy. Chemtech bombs, created by Zonite alchemist Sinjin, spread terror, killing enemies and allies alike and scarring the land. The worst example was the Wuju village, attracted by the legend of a one-man army, Master Yi. Noxians burned it with chemical fire, erasing its traditions and culture. Nothing grows there today, and souls remain trapped in twisted magic. By the war's end, resistance once led by Irelia had splintered into various military groups, including the Nevori Brotherhood, extremists who believed Ionia should militarize, uniting to instill fear in other nations. They fought each other as fiercely as they once fought Noxus. After 3 years of relentless battle, Irelia achieved a climactic victory, killing Admiral Ducal, the man responsible for her family's death. Having won, Irelia relinquished leadership of the resistance. This event coincided with a surprising turn. Noxian troops began retreating from Ionian lands. The reason was a coup in Noxus staged by Jericho Swain, who assassinated Boram Darkwill. Many years have passed since the first Noxian-Ionian war, in which neither side achieved a full victory. Ionia repelled further invasions, but Noxus still holds several Ionian territories. The lower half of the Baral province, the small island of Phalor, and the southwestern edge of Nevori remain under Noxian control. A grim future looms as Noxus prepares once again to unleash its power on Ionia. But this chapter has yet to be written, and Ionia lives in fragile peace, teetering on the brink of harmony and chaos. Reactions to the war divided the region. Some, like the Shojin monks or the Kinku, seek a return to isolationist pacifism and pastoral traditions. Others, more radical, like the Nevori Brotherhood and the Order of Shadow, demand militarizing earth magic to forge a united nation capable of exacting revenge in Noxus. The fate of Ionia hangs in the balance. Every step, every decision of its rulers and warriors can be fatal. All of Runeterra feels the tension, as if the world stands ready to snap at any moment. Well, my friends, this concludes our story of Noxus, Demacia, and Ionia, 3 great lands, each holding its own secrets, victories, and wounds. Thank you for spending this evening in my humble tavern. If you enjoyed the story, please like it and share your opinion in the comments. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss more exciting stories from the world of League of Legends. And now, I'm bidding you guys farewell. See you soon in my cozy tavern for a mug of the finest ale in all of Runeterra.